Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to sit back a little bit because when I sometimes watch these videos on rerun and I always look way too close to the camera and I don't want to scare you. I want to calm you down a little bit. So let's start off in the right manner. Thank you for joining. It's a nice afternoon, right? I'm a little bit sweaty, actually. I've just opened the window. It's a little bit warm in here, but wherever you are, I hope you found a nice, comfortable place to practice. I had some people in my classes this morning practicing outside, so that's always a joy, isn't it, to be able to get some fresh air on your skin when you're practicing yoga. So practice wherever you feel comfortable. Remember, you can do some of this class today. You can do some of it in a chair if you want to do that. You know, I teach a chair yoga class usually on a Monday or a Tuesday every week, usually in the afternoons as well, sometimes in the mornings. And so you'll probably know my classes from there, but I've been doing this one. This is number 211, so we've been doing this one a long time. But as I say, all the poses are adaptable, and there's always choices in every pose, right? Don't feel like it has to be a certain thing. It doesn't have to look like I look, and we're all going to look completely different, right? So what I'd like you to do today, if you're practicing, is approach your practice with a little bit of, well, number one, just have an open mind about the practice, about what yoga's about if you're new to it. And number two, just be kind and compassionate to yourself, right? Try not to defeat yourself before you actually start your practice. This is just a little bit of a journey into the unknown for some people, right? So all we're doing really is we're paying attention to this, our head, and we're paying attention to our body and how we move. And with those movements, hopefully, there's something there which gives you a little bit of release physically. You know, stretch the body out. You might strengthen the body, twist in the body, all of these things that we do. And hopefully it gives you a little bit of mind release as well. If you need that, some people are just blissed out all the time, right? But human beings, most of us, we have something going on at some point. So I think yoga is a really lovely way to calm our nervous system down, to get into our breath. And ultimately, this is the simple thing, right? It's not simple, but this is where we're going. It's just to feel better, right? It's just to feel better in any way, right? So maybe make that your aim for today, just to feel a little bit better from where you started the class. So feel free to say hi. Alan's here. How are you doing, Alan? Nice to have you along. And we've got a little chat bar. Remember, you can catch up with all of this content on YouTube and on Instagram and on Facebook. There's lots of stuff. TikTok. There's lots of platforms which the Virtual Village Hall are on. So yeah, please just check in and do that. I'm going to go back onto my mat. We're going to start relatively calm. So I will slow my voice down a little bit. And get into a little rhythm, but yeah, make sure you're comfortable. And as I say, you can do all of this starting part maybe on a chair. So all right, Julie, thank you for saying hi. All right, so I'm going to go back here in this very strange way. So I'll just crawl myself back. Elegant, I was going to say, a very elegant way. And you might be sitting on a yoga mat, but you certainly don't need one. It's an advantage if you have one, but you know, come sitting up nice and tall. My legs are crossed, right? I've been doing yoga quite a long time, so I feel relatively comfortable sat like this. But for a lot of people, I remember when I first started yoga, sitting on the floor was horrible. So, you know, maybe bring a cushion or a blanket, or as I say, said it a few times already, sit on a chair. And then I'm going to bring my hands onto my knees, and you might join me here. This is very yogic, isn't it? This kind of position. This is called Sukhasana, or easy pose. Doesn't mean it's easy, but that's what the pose is called. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my eyes. You might join me or just keep your gaze nice and soft. And just find your breath within your body. You know, maybe it's the first time today that you've noticed how your physical body feels. And I always think it's a nice place to start by just scanning your body, noticing how your physical body feels. You might match that with the movement of your breath. So sometimes I inhale and I'll sort of draw my attention up to the crown of my head. And as I exhale, I sometimes just draw the attention back down towards my feet. But I don't make this too scripted. I just kind of go with the flow and just see what's going on. And maybe just widen your sense of focus just a little bit. So your focus might go out beyond your mat. You might kind of listen into some sounds that are close by. Maybe in the middle distance, whatever feels good. Spend just a few more rounds of breath here. If you kind of already found it, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your nose. And then if you had your eyes closed, then just really gently come with your eyes open. And you might consider just moving your legs out, just because, you know, we don't want to feel too uncomfortable. So what I like to do sometimes is I'll just bring my legs out, lean back into my hands, and I'll just draw my knees down to either side. Nice familiar movement if you do a lot of my classes. Again, if you're in a chair, you might kind of move a little in your chair if you can. You know, little movements can be really rewarding. Nice. And then come with your knees all the way back to center. Then maybe consider bringing your other shin in front. Let's start with a twist. I think it's a nice place to start. So when you're ready, take an inhale just to sweep your arms all the way up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, twist towards the right. So you twist the torso to the right. Left hand will come onto the right knee. The right hand will be behind. Inhale to find length. And then exhale into your twist. Inhaling, lengthening, exhaling a little more into your twist. So you're never quite static. There's a little bit of movement, but you make the movement kind of just match what you need today. Don't think about it too much. All right, inhale, come back to center, sweep the arms all the way up, reach up towards the sky, relax the shoulders as you do it, and then exhale to the opposite side. So you exhale to the left. You're rolling the left shoulder back. Every inhale, find length. Every exhale into your twist. Hopefully nothing too complicated. And you certainly don't need to kind of, strive in any of these poses. Kind of err on the side of a little bit of ease, right? Not kind of pushing the body too much. One more round of breath. Nice, deep, rich inhale. And a full releasing exhale. All right, inhale, come all the way back to center. Bring the hands onto the knees and then just circle your torso out. So we'll do plenty of stuff seated today. I'm not sure if we'll even do any flow. So making it a little more relaxing, I guess. Nothing too vigorous. Nice. So you pick a direction, you inhale forward, you exhale as you come back here. Inhale as you come here. Exhale as you come back here. So you kind of just match the movements with breath. Nice. When you're ready, we'll swap it out. So inhale, come back to center. Spine is nice and long. Take a full exhale and then just begin to come back in the opposite direction. And it might feel a little bit different. So be nice and gentle. Inhaling, exhaling as you go. Beautiful. Maybe another 3 or 4. No rush. Inhale, come back to center. Take a full exhale. Same thing again, lean back into the hands, separate the feet. You can move the legs a little side to side again if you want, and then you're going to bring your opposite shin in front. Just so we keep moving from this seated position. Again, you know, you may be adapted in a chair. That's cool. We're going to do a little side to side movement, okay? And then we're going to work a little more into the arms, even though the arms come into play quite a lot on this one. So root down through the fingers. That will help you lengthen your spine. Shoulder blades nice and relaxed. Then flatten the left palm down a little more. Inhale your right arm up and over towards the left. And just take a few breaths here. Don't feel like you've got to kind of draw the torso all the way down to the left side. So all you're doing here is, well, not all you're doing is, the kind of aim is to create space here down the right side of the body. So you can have a big bend in the elbow. If the arm being straight is a little struggle, you can always bring the back of the right hand onto the head and kind of open this right shoulder out. And then you might even consider looking up towards the sky or the ceiling. Little variation here. So that's quite a deep stretch for me. Take one more deep inhale. As you exhale, come back to center, bring the right hand down, left arm up, and then just start here, or maybe with the elbow bent, and then create the space first of all down the left side of the body. Inhaling, exhaling as you go. Nice. Maybe bring the back of the left hand onto the head, roll the left shoulder open, and you can kind of look up towards the ceiling or the sky. Beyond that left armpit, left elbow, you can bend a little deeper into the right arm. Nice. Take one more round of breath, deep inhale, and then a full exhale. Come all the way back to center. Beautiful. Give the shoulders a little shrug out. It's quite heavy through the shoulders, right? Give one a shrug, the other a shrug, shrug both of them up. And then what we'll do is we'll just do a dynamic movement. So similar to what we've just done, but we'll move in and out with the breath. So left hand down again. Inhale, right arm to the left. Exhale, left arm to the right. So it's just this little flowing movement. Inhale, left. Exhale, left arm to the right. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So we created the space, right, at the start by twisting the body open. We did that Sufi grind, so we got into our hips and into our mid and our lower spine. And now we kind of move the attention upwards, but it's more of a side-to-side movement, right? So really think about the space in between your ribs here. Kind of breathe really deeply if you can. And I breathe quite powerfully, right, when this one. I don't mean powerfully as in, I mean powerfully as in it's got a little bit of intention in the breath. So inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale left and exhale right. Just keep that going just for a little bit longer. It can be faster, it can be slower. It really doesn't matter what speed or depth you go at. Nice. Couple more times on either side. Just count yourself out. Bring your top arm down. Take a deep inhale. And then a full exhale. And then I think we deserve a little rest after that. So bring the hands onto the knees. And then we're back here where we were right at the start of the class. Maybe you're closing your eyes and just drop in and just pay a little bit of attention to what you've created so far. Nice. When you're ready, if your eyes are closed, just gently open your eyes. Nice. Lean back into your hands and release your legs again. And then just drop your knees to either side. So again, you know, that was doable in a chair. So if you remain in your chair, then great stuff. You can stay there or you're down here with me on the mat. Okay, we're going to come back to center. Have the legs crossed if you can, or the legs are out straight. It's your choice. And then we'll do a little bit of movement through our head. So hands here, just down on the knees, drop the chin down, and then just a little bit of rocking from side to side. Oh, usually it brings on a yawn, and there's a big yawn for me. Rocking the chin. And then if you wanted to, you can pick a direction. don't be too ambitious here, but maybe you kind of draw some circles, or maybe you make the circles or these semicircles a little bigger, so you kind of rock in and then you might come all the way around. So even though this can be, quite challenging, you want the movement to be quite subtle, so you're not forcing anything. Always be very, very careful with your neck, with your head. You're just kind of working through those tight spots, and you might come back the other way. I've got quite a noisy neck today. You really kind of feel where those tight spots begin to develop when you move your head out like this. So that's why I always encourage you to move really gently and slowly. None of this has to be super fast. Here's another yawn. Inhale, come back to center. And take a full exhale. And the yawning, some people think, oh, you do yawn because you're tired sometimes. I'm not yawning because I'm tired. Usually I'll yawn because it's kind of like that central nervous system release. When you can feel like you're just bringing the body into balance, then yawning is a very natural way for the body to calm itself down and to rebalance and recalibrate itself. So that's why I yawn a lot in yoga sometimes, right? Not because I'm tired. All right, I'm going to swap my legs out. Let's do a couple more things down here on our mat, and then we'll move a little bit more. So we'll come on to all fours after that. What I'd like us to do is some of the stuff that we did last week. So what I'd like to do is just begin to work through the shoulders a little bit, through the arms. So you're going to start with the fingertips rooted down. That's a nice position to be in, isn't it? Because as I do that, I feel, relatively comfortable, and then I can just kind of rock backwards and forwards a little bit. Why am I doing that? Well, I'm just trying to find, that balance point in my spine. So I'm trying to lengthen my spine. And as I do that, I'll relax my shoulder blades down my back. It feels pretty good. And then what we're going to do, with the palms facing down, first of all, take an inhale, and then flip the palms up as the arms come up and bring the hands above the head. As you exhale, comb the arms all the way back down. So there's your movement. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhaling up. And exhale down. We're just going to carry on in your own rhythm, right? Because you might be a little faster or a little slower than me. So the only thing you need to remember is you inhale as the arms come up. You exhale as the hands come down. Be quiet for a little bit and just carry on. Three more times. Don't rush them. And then final time, inhaling up. And exhale, just combing the arms all the way down, nice and slow. And then bring your hands back onto your knees and just find some stillness. Maybe close the eyes again. And just check in with your experience. Maybe feeling a little tiredness through the arms and the shoulders, a little activation, maybe a little bit more heat in your body. Right? These relatively gentle movements can be quite challenging. If you have your eyes closed, come with your eyes open. Beautiful. Let's do one more thing. If you want to swap your legs out, go for it. I'm going to swap my shins out again. And then we'll do a little twist. But let's try and do it with cactus arms. So you're going to bend into the elbow. So you're like this, right? You can do it here with the hands onto the shoulders, but I'm going to do it like this today. You're going to inhale towards the left, like that. You're going to exhale towards the right. So just be gentle, first of all. Inhale left, twisting the spine. Exhale right. And kind of just let your head go with the movement. We've done plenty of twisting so far. We've done some movement through the neck, so hopefully everything feels okay. You kind of let the arms sort of drive the movement, but the twist comes all the way down from the navel. Nice movement through the shoulders. A couple more times either side. Inhale, come all the way back to center. Take an exhale, bring the hands down, and then just pause again. That's the final seated posture we'll do. We'll kind of move the shoulders out in a moment, but that's the last kind of formal posture we'll do in this little sequence. Not little, it's kind of over halfway through the class, so plenty of time seated today. Check in with your experience, notice what you're noticing. Maybe a little tiny movement back through your head and your neck, because there's a fair amount of twisting going on there. And then if you wanted to just move your shoulders out in a, I don't know, sort of a way that feels good for you. It doesn't have to be anything too formal, an informal way, intuitive way. I like to do these ones. I just kind of shrug my shoulders up and then I'll kind of roll my shoulders a few times one way, a few times the other. Lovely, really nice. Why don't we come onto our backs? And when you come down onto your back, if you're on a chair, this is your moment to maybe come down if you can. If you can't, then you can stay where you are. And bend your knees in towards your belly if you're joining me down here on your mat. Got a little roll in my mat today. All right, just squeeze the knees in. And then what we're going to do, we're going to stay here for about a minute. So if this feels too strong with the hands around the knees, just do this and place your hands around the backs of the legs. So it's your choice how you do it. But the idea here is just to let your lower spine release. Back of the neck is nice and long. Head is resting on the floor. You might close your eyes and just check in with your breath again. Just 3 or 4 more rounds of breath. And then when you're ready, you're just going to bring your soles of the feet down on the floor. And similar to how we were doing this when we were seated, walk your feet wide. Oh, I just got a bit of cramp in that leg. Walk your feet wide, knees are bent. Open out through your arms. Take an inhale. Exhale, drop your knees over towards the right. Inhale, bring your knees to center. Exhale, drop your knees over towards the left. So just move like that, just a little scissor in action side to side, little windscreen wiper. Inhale, center. Exhale to the side. So just freeing up the lower spine, the hips. Feels different, doesn't it, when we're lying on the back? And then when you're ready, inhale, come back to center. Drop your knees over towards your right. Reposition your feet if you need to. And then just keep your knees kind of in this position, nice and wide. It might not look a little different to me, but you want to feel a stretch in your outer left hip. Soften your left shoulder down. And you might turn your gaze towards the left. And then we'll just stay here for a few breaths on either side. See if you can just soften and let the breath guide the movement, or the kind of the stillness within the movement. Couple more rounds of breath. When you're ready, inhale, bring your knees all the way back to center. As you exhale, drop your knees to the opposite side. Make any necessary adjustments before you come down, and then maybe just soften this right shoulder, maybe gaze to the right. Couple more rounds of breath. And when you're ready, inhale, bring your knees all the way back to center, and then lift your feet and hug your knees back in. And maybe rock around a little more this time. So you can kind of widen the knees out. That can feel quite good. Maybe you draw some circles with your knees. Then we're going to do a pose which will be for about 2 minutes. You're going to bring the soles of your feet together, and then you're going to let your knees fall open. So if you know that this causes a little bit of tension in your hips, then grab a pillow either side and kind of just wedge your pillow under here and under the other side. Otherwise, take up some space. I'm going to bring my arms in line with my shoulders, and then I'm just going to relax into this today. If you use props or pillows in your practice, then feel free to do that. I'm not going to use any props. So this is a nice deep hip opener. This is reclined cobbler pose. Deep breaths here. Let the breath really slow down to a nice long, easeful rhythm. From here, just take another 2 or 3 more rounds of breath. And then when you're ready, just draw your knees back in. So maybe just bring your hands onto your outer thighs and then draw your knees in. And then maybe this time bring your head right up to your knees. So you kind of squeeze everything in. And then roll over to one side. And then from here, we're just going to come onto all fours. When you're ready, I'm just going to shut the door here. 1 second. So when you're ready, come onto all fours. Have your hands spread out nice and wide. Knees right underneath the hips. Now we just did, a good 5 or 6 minutes where it was relatively relaxed. So we're going to kind of keep that nice slow movement going until the end of the class. So what I'd like us to do is some nice gentle CatCows. So when you're ready, inhale, drop your belly down, lift your head, lift your heart as you exhale round into your spine. So there's your movement. Inhale forward, exhale round. And maybe make these even slower than you normally would. So kind of really feel into each vertebra of your spine and realize the way that you move here. Inhaling and exhaling. There's no rush here, maybe another 5 or 6 rounds. When you're ready, inhale, come back to center. As you exhale, you're going to split your knees a little wider, and then you're going to come into child's pose. So the idea here is you draw your sit bones back down towards your heels, and then you soften your forehead down towards the floor. So you're kind of in this position here. Just breathe it out. Deep, rich inhales, full, releasing exhales here. You don't feel like, your shape has to be exactly like mine. We all arrive in child's pose slightly differently. And sometimes it's nice just to kind of wriggle into a shape. Kind of move your torso a little side to side. You can always place your head onto your hands, so you can kind of do it this way and your head's a little higher, or you can do fists and place your head on your fists. So don't feel like your head has to be on the floor. Whatever shape you found yourself in, hopefully you found some relative comfort. And then what I'd like you to do is see if you can breathe a little deeper. Going to stay here for, something like a minute. So maybe you really feel your body begin to sink. Now that I've been here for, a good 7 or 8 breaths, I can feel my hips releasing a little and my sit bones are back down towards my heels. But it doesn't mean that's the aim of the pose. It's just allowing my body just to sink down a little more. I guess the most important thing in child's pose is that you're relatively comfortable, very comfortable, and that you can breathe very deeply. From here, take another 2 or 3 more rounds of breath. And then when you're ready, bring yourself back onto all fours. Do that really slowly. And then I'd encourage you just to give your legs a little stretch out. So you can do it by just lengthening out through one leg. It doesn't matter which leg you press into. And then maybe just rock a little backwards and forwards. I think that's a nice way just to release the ankles, the tops of the feet. You can lift the leg up if you want a little, and work a tiny bit harder. And then maybe you just swap the legs out. So maybe your left leg. Breathe into it here. Maybe lift the left leg up a little harder, right? Not harder, but a little more activation through your leg in general, your hip. We've done plenty of work there. Come back to all fours and then just move for a few more rounds of cat-cow just to even everything up. And then when you're ready, inhale, come all the way back to center. As you exhale, we're going to come and lie down on our belly. So we're going to do Sphinx pose, a nice stretch into the lower spine. So you can do that any way you want. You can kind of just walk your knees back a little. In fact, why don't we all do it this way? If you want to do it from plank, you can. I mean, this is kind of like a low plank. And then you come down onto your forearms and then just take your time setting yourself up. I usually shuffle myself back a little bit and then kind of have the arms lined up at the long edges of your mat. And then root your fingertips down into the floor. And then you kind of lift up through your chest. And then you're kind of in this shape. Shoulders as relaxed as you can. And you want to feel this in your lumbar spine. If it feels too strong, please wing your elbows out and come down more like this, right? Or you can always have your head on the floor. Some people still feel a good enough stretch. If you want to make it a little stronger, then you can have a little bend in the knees. So I'll leave it up to you where you go with it. I'm going to stay in this like first version. You might close the eyes. We'll stay here just for a little bit of time. You might feel a nice stretch through the front of the body as well here, even though it's a stretch into the lumbar spine where we can hold so much tension. You kind of can feel it around your chest and your belly. So it's a nice posture to come into towards the end of a class. Some more static poses today than normal, probably in the second half of the class. What I'd like us to do is come into what we call half frog pose. So if you're not with us here, come with your arms so they're lined up along the edge of your mat, and then bring the elbows out wide, bring your right hand on top of your left, and then bring your right knee in line with your right hip. So just that little crawl to the side, and then I'm just going to gaze to the right. I'll eventually close my eyes, but this right knee and right hip are opened up, and I kind of just roll a little bit of my weight onto my left leg, which is long, and then I feel that nice stretch through my left thigh, even though it's the right hip that's opening out. So again, I can feel it in a couple of different places within my body. When you're ready, you can swap this out. So I tuck my toes on my left foot, and then I'll just bring my right leg back to meet it. Now bring my left hand on top of my right, so I'll swap my arms out. I'll reposition my elbows if I need to, and then I'll bring my left knee in line with my left hip, and then I'm just lying down and gazing over towards the left side. Rolling the weight into that right leg, which is just nice and straight. Left knee, left hip in line. And there's not a lot going on, right? You just letting the body release, letting the bones sink down into your mat. You're just watching your breath, inhaling, exhaling as you go. A couple more rounds of breath. And when you're ready, tuck your toes on your right leg, bring your left leg back to meet it. This time, bring your hands right underneath your shoulders and try and keep your elbows tucked in. And we're not doing any flow today, but it's a nice habit to get into. And then when you inhale next, push yourself back up, come back to all fours, so stack the knees right underneath the hips. And I think it's nice after that little sequence we did just to move the spine out. So cat-cow again, inhaling, exhaling as you go. Just to free everything up. Maybe a few hip circles can feel quite nice. Kind of swing the hips side to side. Let the head be nice and loose. And then from here, we're going to come back onto our backs and we're going to set up for our final pose, Shavasana. So really nicely done today. Come to lie down, just a few minutes. So it's worth getting set up so you can relax completely. Maybe, bend the knees in one final time. And then Shavasana, usually with the legs long like this, with the legs out, palms face up, take up loads of room. You can always do this, bend into the knees and have the soles of the feet on the floor. So your choice. I guess the only thing that I would advise is that you do it, right? Because Shavasana is super important. It kind of seals our practice. So settle in just for a couple of minutes today and let the body be totally at rest. When you're ready, just really gently and slowly bring a little bit of movement back into your body. Maybe start with your fingers and your toes, ankles, wrists. Again, might be a big stretch, a sigh, a yawn, whatever comes quite naturally. And then maybe, you might bend the knees back in. Anything that just comes to you, just to allow your body to come back. Little movements. And then maybe just roll over onto one side. Use your bottom hand as a support. Knees are bent. And just take a couple of balancing breaths here. Maybe keeping your eyes closed. And then eventually pressing into your top hand and bringing yourself all the way back up. Or reposition yourself back in a chair. You might come with the legs crossed if you're down on the floor with me. Nice, everyone. All right, let's bring our hands to our heart. Maybe keeping the eyes closed or the gaze nice and soft, and notice the effects of your practice. Thank yourself for showing up and getting onto your mat. That's always the most important thing, that you practiced itself. All the rest is a bonus. Just with a wholehearted bow, wish yourself well. Wish everybody else well. Namaste. Thanks, you guys. Thank you for coming along today. It was nice to practice with you all. I'll be back next week. Thank you, Julie. Thank you for joining today. It's great when we have people come for the first time. And I always say it, but remember, all the other content on the Virtual Village Hall, all the content comes out at the start of the week. And you can check it out. I like YouTube for Virtual Village Hall. If you've got YouTube on your smart TV, then subscribe, and then all of the content is there, and all of the different types of classes and activities, and then it shows all the upcoming classes as well. So I think it's a really nice way to engage with it, and you can get it on the big screen, right? If your telly's big, that is. All right, everyone. Well, have a great weekend. I'll see you all next week. I'll see you for chair yoga, and then I'll see you for this yoga, mat yoga, next Thursday at 2:30 p.m. All right, everyone. Look after yourselves. I'll see you all soon. Cheers. Bye.